3 p.m.
Welcome everyone. We have a hybrid meeting tonight in that we've got a number of us that are remote. Um, uh, Myself, Dustin Brewster is remote. John Mangan's remote. Dave Raphael is remote. Josh Knox is remote, and John Schumacher is holding up the table for all of us, being present in the room with staff. So thank you, John. John is actually going to act as our enforcer.
You want to go for this?
Ooh, I like that.
So we don't have a full staff, or full, not staff, a full slate of commissioners. So the first item on our agenda is normally, or at this point in time of year, is a discussion on uh, election of officers, and we normally hold that until we have a full group. Does the commission present agree with that approach right now, to wait until we have a full commission?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next item, and we have members of the public tonight, and I am not sure. I think I saw Paula in the audience. Do we have other members with us? I'm gonna try to do ask for everybody who's might be participating this evening to just take the oath at this point. We're gonna try to wing it. And do you swear that it?
From the public. Sorry, Dusty. Go ahead.
Excellent.
Scott, can you?
And it looks like one online and two in the audience. So any testimony you present this evening will be truthful to the best of your abilities. Thank you. So the second item on our agenda is public comments. This is an opportunity for folks to offer comments to the commission for items that are not on our agenda. And I'll ask if there are any requests to speak. If not, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a continued public hearing for the Fleury lands on Center Road and Towers Road. This includes boundary line adjustment and a sketch plan. Darren, are you prepared to speak about this?
Yes, I am, Dusty.
So you can take that off the top if you're comfortable.
And can you guys hear me in the mic okay?
Yeah, it looks better on, so.
National Dog Day.
Bam!
Pay for that one.
I took it in stride. So,
Yeah.
this is, as Dusty said, it's actually 2 boundary line adjustments and a sketch plan for a 6-lot subdivision at the main parcel is at 108 Center Road in the Center District. Give me just a second to get our plans up here. So I'm going to go to the location map here so we can see roughly where this is. So this is, move this out of the way. Route 15 is here along the bottom of the location map. Towers Road is on the top right, and Fleury Road is in the middle here. So we're talking about this parcel, which includes several existing structures. We are also talking about a couple of the neighboring parcels. And actually, let me go to a larger view of this, which is turned sideways, so don't let the orientation throw you. So what we are looking at here is a proposal to, first, we have a number of things going on here, so I'm going to run through each one and then stop and ask if there are any questions. So first, we will have a boundary line adjustment between the main parcel, which is outlined in black, and then this parcel here, which is 110 Center Road. You'll see that this is the current boundary line to be dissolved, and what's shown here with the red and the black is the conveyance from the main parcel at 108 Center Road to this parcel, which is owned by Essex property and the Dones. So that's step 1, but it's actually going to be the last thing that happens in sequence of approvals. Step 2, we are going to have some boundary adjustments between 18 Towers Road, which is owned by Sally Fleury Revocable Trust, and is a single unit dwelling with some accessory buildings. Currently has some frontage on this Fleury Road, which is a town road, but we'll get to that in a sec. Apologies for the highlighting here. So that will have to do some boundary adjustments with the main parcel 108 Center Road in order to allow for the next step, which is the last one. Once all that's done, we'll have 6 new lots, one here, number 2. Lot 3 will be this existing single unit home at 108 Center Road, which is the physical address of that building. That's lot 3. Lot 4 is the Podvin Auto and Classic Bike motorcycle shop. Will be a commercial site. Lot 5 is vacant and planned for residential development. Lot 6 is also going to be planned as vacant at the moment, but could accommodate additional development in the future, only within this area here outside of the wetlands, which are outlined in pink, or magenta, with the buffers noted in blue. So I'm going to stop there and ask if anyone has any questions about what's going on, because that's a lot of information.
My concern is there's a big lot. And it's to the back of off.
Okay.
So if, excuse me for a moment. I think that the chair has not opened public hearing yet.
Correct.
Sorry.
So they'll call on you when that happens.
Yep. I'm just asking if
Thank
everyone understands what's being proposed for boundary adjustments and subdivisions. And if not, we can address that. Okay. All right. So because there are several different boundary adjustments happening, those should be completed before the subdivision is approved. However, because they are one-step approvals, we are not reviewing those formally tonight. We're just considering them as part of the sketch plan proposal. Those will have their own separate approvals when this reaches final approval, final review. So in terms of the subdivision itself, and I'm going to switch over to the plat, which shows this a little more clearly. So we've got each lot out or in a different color. And we also have the boundary adjustments shown in gray. The other element of this, and the reason this was continued from approximately a year ago, was that Fleury Road is a town road, and it's been listed on our road maps for many years. However, we do not have an actual survey showing the boundaries and limits of it. We understood it was a 3-rod right-of-way that had a looped configuration around the existing train station, which is now a residence, but we did not have the formal boundaries delineated. The town contracted with a surveyor to make sure that that was laid out properly, and as part of the final layout, we will have to do some boundary adjustments with both 108 Center Road, the large parcel, and 18 Towers Road, the existing house at the end of Fleury Road. So that's all part of the proposal for the subdivision, and we'll create new frontage, or rather formally established frontage along all of these lots off Fleury Road, and also establish access. In addition, this will establish access to parcel proposed lot 5 for future development. And we'll also look at another potential access directly off of Center Road. So this is a 6-lot subdivision. 3 of the lots, 4 of the lots, lot 1, lot 2, lot 6, and lot 3 may only accommodate limited residential development. And in fact, lot 3 already has a single unit dwelling. The parcel is large enough to accommodate duplexes for all of them. And actually lot 6 could have technically up to 4 units, but may be limited by site conditions. Lot 4 is currently has some commercial buildings on it, could accommodate mixed use development or all commercial development or all residential development, but the proposal is for the applicant to sell this off separately to anybody who wants to own it or develop it or so on. Similarly for lot 5, there could be up to 19 units with the current proposal. But again, there may be some limitations due to wetlands, and this would be reviewed separately if development were proposed, and the applicant is looking to sell this parcel to another developer. We have also tried to describe all of the different conveyances that are happening to make sure that all the acreages come out properly, and the surveyor's done a great job of doing that. So from a staff perspective, The substantive issues at sketch are to determine, one, that all these lots have a sufficient frontage area and access for these smaller dwelling lots or limited development lots, and then to look at the potential development of lot 5 and lot 4. So things we would want to consider are access, which may be provided by Fleury Road, or again by this new road off of Center Road. The town has a right-of-way shown as F here on the Pomerlow Family Partnership property, aka Price Chopper Shopping Center. It is 30 feet wide in the rear, but only 15 feet wide in the front. So if access were to come through here, it would need to be widened, and there would need to be a right-of-way dedication as part of this subdivision. The other thing we want to think about is sewer allocation. This whole parcel has, and let me just get to the staff report where I can double check the numbers here. Total of 40 equivalent units or EUs. These are approximately, these are 200 gallons per day of capacity. So the applicant and staff have been working on how to distribute all of those 40 EUs among the subdivided parcels to ensure that there's maximum development potential for each and not too little for what is anticipated. The last thing we want to note is that at some point, if resident development does take place on lot 5, we would want to have some sort of recreation or civic space. One idea for this that has been discussed informally by the applicant, and we would want to support this, is a recreational trail along or a multi-use path along the old railroad bed, which goes roughly from the end of Fleury Road to this corner of the property. And that would provide access to the back of the Price Chopper parking lot eventually, if that was agreed upon by Price Chopper. It could connect to this other road that may be established here, and would connect out to Towers Road, which has a new sidewalk and would provide access to the rest of the town center. This is wholly consistent with the town center master plan, but we want to make sure that all of the structural elements for the subdivision are in place. So I'm going to stop talking and let other folks chime in.
Questions for staff at this point?
Cricket.
So Darren, I've got one.
Okay.
Maybe we can hit it later. Talked about the road frontage. Can you put the map back up for a minute?
Sorry, did that prematurely.
Yep. No, it's all about road.
Yep.
And when I was looking at this, I was questioning on, the road frontage would be for if there's future development in proposed lot 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like there's sufficient road frontage on Fleury Road. And I'm missing the numbers right now because I'm on the small screen, but it looks like there's sufficient road frontage for lot 5 off of Fleury Road. But what happens when it gets subdivided?
So we would expect that there would be an extension of a public road, either Fleury Road or the other road here from bordering with the Price Chopper Plaza. That would create additional frontage. It would have to be a public road, and we would expect nothing else in this situation because it would be providing a significant amount of access in terms of the number of dwellings or buildings served, as well as providing connectivity through the back of these lots and a second access out to Towers Road.
Okay, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners, any other questions? Chime in since we can't see anybody. Hearing none. Darren, do you have more on this, or we want to go to the applicant at this point?
I do have a couple of small corrections. They're mostly grammatical or technical, so I can talk about those now, or I can bring it up later. The one thing I do want to actually, sorry, different application. I'm good.
Okay. So let's go to the applicant on this. Who's presenting?
Joe Flynn, land surveyor with O'Leary Burke, and Brian Courier, civil engineer with O'Leary Burke, will be representing Towers Trust and Sally Fleury Trust this evening. So I appreciate the overview, Darren. Well done. There is a lot going on with this parcel and a lot to review, but I just want to reiterate first to make sure that the commission has a full semblance of what we're looking at here. There's a lot of elements, and if they need any clarification, again, I'll ask one more time. While the plot is busy, I think we did a pretty good job at depicting everything that's going on, but if just want to double check to make sure that it's clear what we're proposing here today. Is there any other questions or need a more definitive answer?
Do you have anything that you would want to add to or change or re-emphasize from what Darren presented? I think that's what I'd like you guys. Okay, go ahead.
The only thing that I think I should reiterate that is the Fleury Road depicted here has gone through quite a bit of preliminary review with Public Works, the abutters, and planning and zoning staff. So we're very close to having a good handle on what's going to happen with Fleury Road, and the select board hearing scheduled for October 5th. Hopefully will solidify what we have. So again, Fleury Road is, we're on a really good track to have that. So what you see is hopefully what we're going to have finalized, because I know it's a condition or a requirement of Public Works that they will not accept the subdivision until Fleury Road is defined. So I just want to make sure that's clear, and we got a full understanding of that. Okay. We do have a couple things, a couple comments I'd like to put in regards to staff comments. So the first one is staff has classified this as a major subdivision, and we looked through the regs quite a bit, and we didn't see anything definitive in regards to number of lots or why it was classified as a major. And while I know there's quite a bit going on, we are just looking at a simple subdivision. We are not planning any buildings. We are not planning any development. We're just dividing land. So if possible, we like to go with a minor so we can skip actually preliminary and go straight to final for the next one. So that was the first thing. The other thing was in the proposed conditions. Yeah. Conditions of approval, we have 3A, depiction of a parcel to be dedicated to town of Essex sufficient for a 60-foot wide right-of-way along the western boundaries of lots 4 and 5. We have some concerns about that. Reading through the Public Works comments, while they do mention that it'd be nice to have some continuity there, there isn't anything that alludes to a actual right-of-way. The information provided that we've interpreted is more of an easement type. Again, I understand looking at some town plans, there's some information that may show a multi-use path there, but we did not see anything that showed a right of way. And there's definitely some concerns in regards to deeding a right of way to the town, especially since again, we're just subdividing. We don't know what's going to happen with these lots. There are restrictions on it in regards to wetlands that check on density, and again, some of the town plans show a higher density that can be achieved. So we would definitely like that removed or looked at a different aspect than giving up a right of way for especially across lot 4 and 5. That was one. The other questions I have, or other comments I have in regards to the easement for a path running from Towers Road to the back of the parcel along Fleury Road to connect in the old Burlington Memorial Railroad grade. And we definitely concur that staff has worked with the client in regards to providing that. There's just some reservations about bringing that path along the residence of Sally Fleury Trust. We would definitely prefer any kind of easement to be located within the Fleury Road right away on the southerly side, crossing lot 5, and then connecting after the trust parcel, which would give some great connection to the 30-foot right of way across the shopping center. So we have those two items, and also there's some other items in regards to staff comments that. While I appreciate Darren's foresight in looking at the development of this and the efforts that they put in, making reservations or allocations right now in regards to civic open space and rec paths and so on is we just find a little premature based upon we're coming in for a subdivision. we have no idea what the possible new tenants or owners will be proposing here. So having some kind of plan kind of collars the use of these parcels until we know what's coming in. And the applicant fully understands that whoever purchases these lots will be subject to site plan review and further permitting process. So those are the biggest items that we have reservations and would like to have the board consider.
So for that last one, I'm looking for under the conditions, what are we looking at? I got 3A and 3B. I'm looking for the other one.
Okay, so that's going to be in your staff comments for the rec in
Line number.
He's looking.
I'm still
Yeah.
looking.
It's believe
This.
finding.
Oh, it'd be B, section 2.7, fourth page, under master plan. Open space recreation must still be addressed at current subdivision proposal. So that's one area of it, and I know there's another.
We don't have,
Line 239.
we don't have a condition of approval written.
No,
with
you don't.
reference to that.
I agree, there's no condition, but the evaluation of that is, again, we perceive as being a little premature because, you know, we just don't know what's gonna happen here.
Starts again in section line 219, recreational facilities.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
And Dusty, I would be happy to respond to some of the concerns raised by the applicant's engineer. Just not, yeah, happy to respond.
Okay, let's say, hang on a second here. Let's just, so is there anything else you'd like to call out in the staff report other than the items that you've touched on so far?
The only other thing is, you know, again, efforts in regards to the EUs for sewer. We've got a preliminary values. Again, we're at sketch. We're missing one, and there's some discussion whether we can do an EU for the current residential lot of Fleury Trust. Again, we'll address that at the hopefully the next final level. But other than that, I think those are the concerns of
Okay.
the applicant.
All right, thank you. Before we get Darren on board, commissioners, any questions for applicant at this point?
Me.
Darren, take a swing.
Thanks. So to go through some of those items in turn, we classified this as a major subdivision because under the definition in the subdivision regs on page 62, it reads, major subdivision is a subdivision consisting of 6 or more lots or any subdivision requiring a new street or extension of public water or sewage facilities. This is a bit of a technicality because this came in originally as a minor subdivision because there were fewer lots. We understand that the plans have sort of morphed as this has progressed, and we have no objection to combining preliminary and final review if everything is in order, but under the regs, we had to classify it as a major subdivision. We're still at sketch, so we can address any of those concerns. And we also understand that at this point, no new streets are being proposed by the applicant. In terms of that right-of-way on the bordering the Pomerleau property, this is a strong suggestion by both Public Works and Community Development staff to help maintain that connectivity. And we understand it's perhaps premature to put that in there, not knowing what will happen with the development of lots 4 and 5. But because this is the subdivision process, that is typically when right-of-ways and easements are established, and it prevents the situation down the road where one of the landowners of lot 4 or 5 is not cooperative with establishing that right-of-way. It doesn't mean that it has to be constructed as a road or has to be constructed to a certain spec, and it doesn't mean that it can't be changed in the future if we determine that that's not actually where the roadway should go. But it does give some assurance that there will be access through there. So we'd like to continue that discussion through the preliminary and final review of this project. Not necessarily a deal breaker or something that the town has to have, but we just wanted to make sure it was in the conversation. I have no objection. We have no objections to relocating or better locating the multi-use path extending off of Fleury Road along the old rail bed. If it would certainly be better to keep it off of the established single-family residence property to avoid any conflicts. And again, it may depend on where the where any right-of-way along the Pomerleau property eventually ends up. And the comments about recreation and civic space are simply to state that those should be addressed when the future lots 4 and 5 come in for review of any plans, site plan or subdivision. We're not suggesting that has to be established right now. We're just adding in there that it should be a consideration in those reviews. And if there is a need to establish civic space on other properties, lots 1, 2, or 6, this would be a good time to consider that.
Good clarification, Darren. So the use of the word, especially to me as a surveyor, right away and easement are two different things.
Okay.
Right of ways typically are fee simple, conveyed and the town has full ownership. While an easement is just a reservation for a certain right. So is planning staff looking at a right of way or an easement across lot 4 and 5?
I think in this case, with that clarification, thank you. We'd probably be looking for an easement at this point, with the understanding that it's meant for a future right of way, not necessarily in that location. So yeah, we wouldn't be looking to obtain the fee simple ownership of any land at this point, but ensuring that there is a right of access for the town to potentially put a road through at some point.
Understood. Okay. Okay.
And that's merely to serve the development of these parcels and the future landowners and ensure that there isn't any conflict as they get developed.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions at this point from commissioners? Any other questions for staff or applicant?
I got a question. So that we're talking about making it so that Fleury Road is defined. What does that entail? What does that?
So what it would involve, and Joe, you'll probably know a little more of this than I do, but essentially Fleury Road is listed on our road maps that we provide to the state, and we get assistance for it and maintaining it. But as far as we can tell, it was never formally conveyed over to the town in any right-of-way, easement, or legal manner. But by the fact that we've been maintaining it and plowing it since, at least the 30s, I believe. I can't remember.
43.
43. It's assumed that, we should continue doing that. And the applicants and landowners and the butters are completely supportive of that. And I do want to note that currently it's defined as a 3-rod right-of-way on the state maps. This proposal would narrow that to a 2-rod right-of-way, so 33 feet. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
And it would loop around the former train station, which is shown as parcel C on this. So a little bit of a change to it.
So that definition, creating that definition of that road, is that under our purview here, or is it just an agreement that's going to be?
So the purview of roads, for all roads, town roads, come under the select board.
Yep. So
it's a statutory process to change classification of a road or width or whatever that the town oversees, and that's up to the select board. So the select board is a guiding factor on how this is done. Now, again, we mentioned we've worked with Public Works and with planning staff and the butters to come to an agreement on what to do. So hopefully, seeing how the old parties are involved, we're anticipating the select board will hopefully just move forward with it and agree or sign off on the survey that's been prepared for it.
Doesn't sound like there's a wrinkle there.
Nope, not from the Planning Commission's perspective. That is a precondition to your final action on this subdivision, but you're certainly able to review the preliminary stages. It would not be part of your conditions of approval to require that,
okay,
other than to make sure.
Good. Thanks.
Anyone else? I have one follow-up on the road. Is Fleury Road in its, and I'm going through looking at the staff report now, I've got Public Works notes in front of me. Is Fleury Road in its current condition acceptable as a feeder road for future development of lot 5? It's more of a question to Darren.
Yeah. I have not looked at I don't think the staff have looked at the details of what Fleury Road's conditions are today. It is sufficient for the lots 1, 2, 18 Towers Road, and all the existing properties. I believe if lot 5 were developed, there might need to be some upgrades to the road itself.
So is there sufficient space, and this would be for either you or the applicant, is there sufficient space? You know, we're talking about 60-foot right away. I'm looking at the map. It's small enough on the computer screen I can't read it. Do we have the sufficient space to bring that road to full public works specs? Or is it at public works specs? I mean, I'm looking to make sure we don't handicap ourselves or the applicants or future owners by having something that's substandard. So all of a sudden, they can't put what they'd like on it.
Yep. I'd have to defer to Public Works on whether it meets the specs or not based on what future development might be proposed. But I'm assuming that because they've worked very closely with the applicant and the surveyor to determine what that right-of-way should look like, they're okay with it. One of the discussions we've had informally is, again, that access off of Center Road, and there's a possibility that this could connect to Fleury Road and provide one-way access in and out through that. So it might not need to be a full 60-foot right-of-way. In any case, even if it doesn't meet our full specs, the town engineer has the discretion to modify requirements for public roads based on conditions, and this would be certainly an exceptional one, and we'll defer to the town engineer on that. Preliminary and final review.
Yeah. So simply put, right now they're not throwing up any flags on at this point. Okay. If there are no further questions, this is a continuation, so the public hearing is still open. So I'd look to members of the audience if anybody would like to offer comment, either anybody online or anybody in the room itself. And I can't see the people in the room, so
So
did Paula leave?
if you do speak, just state your name, please, for the record.
My name is Fernando Cook, and I live right on the corner of Towers Road and Fleury Road.
What's your address, sir?
I'm at 22 Towers. And I'm going to be connected to Windows Fleury Tower. I was concerned about possible traffic on Fleury Road, as it is already congested. For instance, Meadows Edge is right here. I know you're talking about future, but if we talk future, make a roundabout here. There's going to be a lot of traffic on that road, especially in the morning, so traffic backs up here. You know people are going to be cutting through. I'm not sure what would be worse, a two-way road or a one-way road. Like you said, to determine width of that right-of-way, the grass is up a little bit I have. Narrow my land my daughter's with. Like to keep that road as narrow as possible. Really concerned about thoroughfare traffic. One thing to have pedestrian path, but
Is there let me interrupt for a second, please. Is there any way, Scott, do we have an external mic that we could put in front of this gentleman, because it's really not coming through very clear. I want to make sure we get your question, sir. We don't want to lose it.
Hang on. Getting them set up. The intermission, you can tell when you're chicken yolks.
It looks like we've had somebody else just sign on.
Okay.
All right, sir.
yes, my name is Fernando Cook, and I live right in the beginning of Fleury Road. and soon acquire legal right to Linda's house, the next one down. And I'm concerned about traffic coming through there in both our yards. And I have a grandson that's living there now. I mean, a town right away for public access for a trail is one thing, but the concerns over either a one-way road or a thoroughfare. I realize it's down the road, but I mean, I'm not gonna be around that long, but I know my daughter is, and my grandson too, and I'm concerned about how much traffic that's gonna put on that road. And like you said, that's not a, I mean, it's all right for the traffic that's here now, but I do building, and that road would need some serious update to accommodate the kind of traffic that might be coming later, depending on what happens with these lots. And 19 lots here, 19 proposed lots here or buildings is a lot. I have no problems about this. I understand what they're trying to do, but I'm concerned about the access over time. I mean, like, if you go 66 feet, you're about gonna, you know, it says on this plan 33 feet, 2 rod. The last drawing I got. I'm kind of surprised Sally didn't show me this map earlier. And it just showed a hammerhead down here and 33 feet wide. Like I said, that's my concern, is too wide a road and too much traffic compared to what we already have with Meadows Edge right there. And that's a dangerous spot already.
The traffic volume is the biggest, is this, sounds like that's the main concern you've got right now with the applicant, with the whole.
Because we still have, I mean, this is very busy and it's getting busier, and like I said, that's a tricky intersection. There's been some accidents and some pretty close calls, and even more people in and out of here is just gonna make it even worse.
Okay.
And if you're into, I think that 40-mile-an-hour speed sign should be way up the road. I believe that's an accident that waiting to happen, like what happened in Underhill next to the cafe there. We got bicyclers, we got kids, and we got people starting at the stoplight thinking it's a quarter-inch, quarter-mile track. And it's going to be a lot there. I'm not comfortable with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, Darren, is this, I mean, obviously that usually traffic would be part of the actual development application, correct? So at this point, as we were reminded of at the beginning, this is a subdivision, not the development app itself yet.
Yes. Just
Go for it.
clarify also, you're correct, Mr. Coop, that this is proposed now as a 2-rod right of way, 33 feet. So there shouldn't be any impacts to the property that you and your daughter might own at this stage. And if for lots 4 and 5, if future development happens, there would be a full traffic review for that level of development, and there would be most likely the developer would have to upgrade Flurry Road if that were used as the access. So it would certainly get some benefit there. And then it might, again, become one way out to Powers Road to avoid the pass-through traffic, or vice versa, whatever makes the most sense from the traffic configuration. And again, there may be additional controls needed, like a stop sign, or unlikely to need a light, but that would be reviewed when the new developments come in. And it may, again, to clarify also on lot 5, under the current zoning, it could accommodate up to 19 units just based on the 10,000 square foot per unit density. However, as the applicant engineer has noted, there are some wetland restrictions, there are some layout issues. They might not actually achieve that full density. Plus, there's only, as they propose, I believe, 15 EUs for sewer allocation, so that would be potentially limiting development as well. There's a lot of uncertainty as to how those lots would be developed, and that's part of the reason the applicant wants to subdivide them off so that they can finish the other lots that they want to use for their personal purposes.
Let me ask you, do you know what that right of way could be increased to or asked for down the road?
I think it would be unlikely that the right of way width would increase given the how close the buildings are. I think that's why we're going to 2 rods now. I'd have to confirm that with the town engineer. But because we currently have a 3 rod right of way, it wouldn't make sense for us to give that up now if we anticipate
Like
future
a two
development.
rod, right?
So under our current state highway maps, it's listed as a 3 rod right of way, but again, it hasn't been formally established. So what we're doing now is formally establishing it, and we're actually reducing the width on paper.
Okay, that's good.
Actually,
Darren,
they will be
Darren, what,
up. Just a quick comment that parcels A and B will be getting 8¼ feet in property because we're narrowing it by a rod.
So that's A and B, I believe. I'm gonna check the addresses, but that's your current property, Mr. Cook, and I believe
It's
Linda's
for now.
property. Yep.
so Darren, is that something we can just add under our findings, just add a note that we would be looking for traffic studies for development of, future lots or the lot 5?
Yep. It would
It's not a requirement, but it's just putting a note that we recognize it as a concern.
absolutely.
Yeah. Quick comment on that. Just make sure that that recommendation is for lot 5, and it doesn't include lot 1, 2, and 6,
Correct.
which are
Well, the recommendation would not be necessarily a condition. It's just a discussion point that we don't lose the idea. So I think we can narrow it down, but I think we recognize that if it's a recommendation or a finding that helps us for continuity going forward, when we look back and say, why did we do this or why didn't we do this? We have a note that, that finding just as references future planning commissions, gives them a reference point as to why we want something or not. So we can fine tune that and drop it down to what makes sense, but it's not critical that it's any particular lot is excluded.
Yeah, Dusty, I would recommend that the planning commission require whatever or anticipate whatever requirements would be based on the level of development. It's possible, after all is said and done, there could be only a couple new houses or lots, and
Yep.
that wouldn't necessarily require a full traffic study.
Agreed.
So we wouldn't want to
Okay,
put a requirement on there unless it was needed.
well, we're not even looking to have a condition in this. It's
Right,
really just
yep.
a matter of a recommendation. So having that language be reflective of the level of development is probably a better approach.
Yeah.
Any commissioners, any questions? Anybody in the audience have any questions? If you're we had a couple folks join us, I saw. If you have any questions, raise your hands. If you weren't here when we swore you in, I'll swear you in before you speak.
Nobody seems to have any comments, Dusty.
Got two new
Then
board.
I would look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
By Josh, seconded by
I'll second it.
Shu. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Was there 5 of us?
5.
Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing, public comment section is closed. So we have, and I don't see really a lot of questions on here. I do think, Darren, you brought up that this might be worth moving from, combining preliminary and final.
Yes, we're certainly open to that, and since there seems to be a lot of the engineering work has already been done, the survey, some of the work on sewer capacity, we certainly see that still as a possibility, but we would want to look at the next application to make sure that it meets both preliminary and final requirements and that everything is ready to go before we would warn it as one combined or separate. But absolutely wouldn't be opposed to it.
And we can warn it that way. It doesn't mean you have to approve it that way. If you
Right.
feel
Well,
you need to
that's-
pull it apart.
I was actually looking at it from the other point of view. Do you want us, I think we should poll the commission now to see if we support going that direction and then allow you, staff, to pull it apart if you feel that it's not ready to go to final.
Sounds good.
So commission, is a straw poll on this sufficient for you, Darren, or do you want an actual motion?
You can do a straw poll, but I think the engineer had a comment perhaps.
The only comment I have is, again, this can't be heard till at least after October 5th.
Right.
So we have that we have to work with. It has to occur after that.
Correct.
So they wanted to add.
So,
Okay.
straw poll is fine, Dusty.
So commissioners, I want to do a straw poll that would give staff, the question is, do you support this application being a combined preliminary and final, with staff having the option to separate them at the next hearing if they deem their sufficient cause, if they deem there's sufficient cause to separate them?
Fine by me.
Yeah, I'm
Shoot,
fine with it.
Shoot,
I'm fine with it.
I'm gonna go down the list because it's hard for me tonight. Shu,
Yep, fine by me.
John Mangan,
I'm good with it.
David,
Yes.
Josh.
Fine with me.
Okay, so Darren, you've got a straw poll that's in favor of combining preliminary and final. With staff, you can determine if it needs to be separated at the time of that it comes before us.
Excellent.
Um, what else do we need to talk about? 60-foot easement? Want to stick with that?
Yep. So you would probably want to modify those conditions for preliminary to include a easement rather than right of way. But that's something we can also talk about with the applicant behind the scenes and work out as to what they actually want to put in there.
And location of the path, I didn't even see a condition for that. So
That'd be
is there a condition?
I'm not sure that the language
Gotcha.
change. Although actually, sorry, it would need to eliminate the phrase through the Sally Fleury Revocable Trust property parcel. But you can stay with Towers Trust. So I can put that up on the screen if that's easier. So we would want, I'll make sure I've got track changes on here. That's how that would change.
Okay.
And let's see.
And then in the additional findings is just, I think we add a note that dependent upon planning commission would look for traffic studies, but dependent upon the level of development proposed for future development, something like that. Yeah. Commissioners, what else do we need to put in? Darren, you mentioned you had some typos and stuff. Do you want to cover them real quick?
Sure. Run through them very quickly. Let's see. After line 59, the table, I misspelled Doane. It's D-O-A-N-E, not D-O-N-A-I. N-A-E. This line 104 said minor subdivision. That was from the previous review, so it should say major. And then there was a typo in transposing Public Works memo on line 213. It should say along the western boundary lines for lots 4 and 5 rather than 4 and 4. And that was it for my changes. Commissioner Raphael had a comment. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but about the landscaping and open space. Scroll to that. So, Dave, I'll leave that up to you. Otherwise,
Uh,
nothing.
No, are you referring to the waiver or it wasn't landscape and open space?
Yeah, sorry, it's the waiver for street trees.
I had just suggested to staff that, that the process be staff recommends the waiver based on, the, the reasons they cited for the scenic, and that, we in our findings, either support or not support that waiver.
Okay.
So I think, Justin, at some point, in our deliberations or motion, we should note in our additional findings either support or not support for that waiver.
And that's lines 183 to 185. We'll change that in the staff report at the next review.
So maybe that should just be, staff recommends.
Yep.
Waiver, and then we can put it in. That sounds real. Again, that shows a review and an agreement and so forth. I think that's a good catch.
Yep. Nothing else from my perspective.
Somebody just woke up.
Oh,
Give me that pen when you please.
So if somebody wants to offer a motion. This is Franklin, by the way.
They're looking at you, Shu.
I know, I'm trying to get there.
So I'm just
It's a
adding
long
staff
one, Dustin.
recommend.
But we can also just say that we approve it or offer it as we've been discussing
Yeah, I
with the corrections that.
say that I moved that we approve this application staff report as written, changes as noted in the findings and in the conditions. I'll give the address, I guess, at 108 Center Road and 18 Towers Road, in the center and business design control overlay, tax map 58 parcels 1 and 3, as well as the sketch plan for Towers Trust, same location.
Raphael, I'll second that. Can I, with just one comment?
Oh, come on.
I know, I'm sorry. It's because you took your mask off. When you look so good. I just, I don't know if other commissioners agree, but I want to agree with a sentiment that Mr. Flynn expressed, which is on the parcels that have potential for future development, I think it's good to call out what may be required down the road, but to remember and to memorialize that, again, this is a subdivision app and that we're going to see it again. So I wouldn't on preliminary final want to get too specific on those larger parcels, because those are likely to be potentially high density development, and we're going to get a really big swing at that down the road. Anyways, so that's my second with just a caveat.
Should that caveat go in the PC findings?
That's what I think.
I don't know how other people feel. I just wanted to, I didn't get a chance to weigh in on, I agree with Joe's comment on that. I don't know if other commissioners feel the same way.
That sounds like a legitimate entry into our findings section.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's between David and Shu. You guys agree with that? And then
I'm fine with that. So add that as a finding, Dave. Do you want to add some language to it? Put some a little flourish on that, or what?
Well, this is what I captured. The planning commission agrees with the sentiment for parcels for future development to memorialize this as a subdivision. On preliminary final, don't get too specific as site plan review will capture same or something like that. I can massage that a little bit, but that's what I got.
Dave?
Yeah.
Good with that?
It sounds like Dave's typing.
No, I'm not typing. I'm just trying to think how specific we want to get. I mean, the general 10,000 foot view is, we all acknowledge that the two larger lots that have the potential for high density or additional development will come before this body again, and we will have an opportunity to put in the necessary conditions that are needed at that time. We don't need to figure it all out right now.
and that's really on a similar line to the traffic study as well.
Yep.
And it's all, we're expecting to see this.
Yep.
And we're expecting to see more detail and dependent upon the level of development offered.
Roger.
Good, take it to a vote.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. We have some modifications. I'm getting nibbled on. All those in favor of the motion, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
All right.
Need
Handle
that.
that next on the-
Yeah.
Okay, he's gone.
Thank you.
Gonna have to clean something up in a little bit, I bet. Just the way it works. So the next item is a site plan public hearing, Forestdale Heights. Proposal to construct 2 warehouse buildings at 22 Corporate Drive. Darren, are you presenting on this?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Dusty.
All right, take it away.
Let me pull up the site plans here. This is 22 Corporate Drive. For reference, we were talking about this area, which is off of Allen Martin Drive, off of Route 15 and Sand Hill Road. It's the very westernmost arm of the Resource Preservation District Industrial Zone on Corporate Drive, and we're all the way at the left, all the way at the end on the left. So here's a overview of that in relation to the other lots. This is a project you have, or a parcel you have reviewed before, but the proposed development that was going in did not materialize, so you're seeing something different now. This was formerly going to be a sports fitness facility and outdoor recreation. Now it's proposed as 2 warehouses, and let me pull up the detailed site plan. So we have a 4,000 square foot building on the west to the right as you enter the property, and towards the back you have a 7,200 square foot building. Both warehouses, 4 bays each with their own overhead doors. We have 12 parking spaces along the left as you enter, and loading bays for everything. Let's see. I'll get to my staff notes here. This is a generally straightforward project, another conventional or commercial subdivision on Corporate Drive. We have no substantial objections, but we do want to ensure there are some stipulations regarding relocation of snow storage for emergency access, particularly to the rear building, and verification of utility crossing separation distances and capacity of domestic water supply and fire flow. So I'll get into some of those details. We'll note that the snow storage areas that they've proposed are towards the rear of the property along the parking areas, and we're a little concerned that those would block access for our fire department or rescue to get around the edge of the building if needed. So we're just asking those to be relocated or rearranged slightly to allow for, I believe, 15 feet of separation. I want to check that because it's in a staff or in the conditions. Sorry, 12 feet, condition 3A. Number 2, we want to make sure that there is a crossing of sewer and stormwater and water lines all roughly in the same location here near the front of the property. So we would like the applicant to verify that all the public works specs will be met in terms of separation heights there below grade. And then we also need them to verify that there is adequate fire flow. We suspect that's not a problem, but just want to be sure before a permit is issued. And then there's a note that this tree that's south of the first 4,000 square foot building isn't labeled. We'd suggest that that be a smaller tree, like a shrub such as witch hazel or dogwood, because it's a relatively small planting site. Otherwise, no objections, no issues, and we'll take it away.
Commissioners, question for staff.
None for me.
None for me.
All right, who's presenting for the applicant on this?
Brian Courier, representing WT Builders LLC. So we have good job with your overview, Darren. I don't have anything to add. We have reviewed the staff report. If I could direct you to line 114, there's a district dimensional requirement table. And I believe this is our mistake. Under proposed, we're proposing 30 foot for the new building. We would just like to change that to less than the standard 45 feet. We believe it will be more than 30 feet, but less than the allowed 45.
Say that again. You want it to be less than,
Just less
propose
than
it?
45.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Got it. That's it?
Almost. So going to the conditions. Number 9. Prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the applicant's engineer shall provide documented verification that the line separation between water, storm, and sewer meets or exceeds the requirements of detail A34 water and sewer crossing. If we could just change that to prior to certificate of occupancy. Typically, those sort of things are monumented in record drawings. We won't know exactly what that crossing dimension is until we start construction. And then if you could also strike storm from that as well. It's just water and sewer crossing details. Perfect.
Okay.
And then condition 24, all pavement shall be maintained in a good state of repair for the life of the project. Line striping shall be maintained so as to be visible at all times. I just found that condition a little odd. I might have missed it on previous approvals, but having a condition specifically regarding the maintenance of the applicant's parking lot, into the future just seems a little odd, being out of the right of way and it being a private parking lot. Not a deal breaker, obviously, but I just haven't seen that type of condition before. I get it for maintenance of landscaping, especially in this case where we're waiving the 50-foot front yard buffer in exchange for street trees. But I just haven't seen it for a private parking lot before, and just seemed odd to me.
So Darren, is that based on something, a request or something from Public Works or anybody, or is that?
This is a standard condition we've been including in several recent approvals. We've had issues in some areas with some developments that pavement is not being maintained, and it's a concern because there's public access required through these properties occasionally. As the applicant's engineer said, this isn't a deal breaker for this property. There's not going to be a ton of traffic through here, but it does raise some questions about, we just want to make sure that the site is accessible also for our emergency personnel. Not having pavement in good repair can damage our vehicles like fire trucks and rescue vehicles and so on, or prevent us from actually accessing the site.
I guess I'm more questioning the line striping. I mean, I think that's verbiage that I don't recall seeing. The good repair, I think I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with the other one. I was just curious if the line striping was for, accessibility. I forget the right term to use nowadays for accessible spots and crosswalks and so forth. Is that our focus, or?
Yes, so this is to ensure that parking spaces remain visible so that folks can access and park there, particularly for ADA accessibility, making sure that that's visible to know where that is. But again, this is something we've been including in several recent approvals, and particularly on Drive. Not something that necessarily you know, has to stay in there if the commission feels strongly about it, but it also is not something that staff sees as an issue for the applicant to be able to meet. Before you go too
Okay.
far, I did have one more comment on the conditions that I forgot to mention earlier. So condition 5 should be struck. That was from a previous approval that we carried over accidentally. There is no need for this to be a named road through the property.
Commissioners, any questions at this point for staff or applicant?
None.
Okay. At this point, I think we need to open the public hearing, correct?
Move we open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Moved by John, seconded by Josh. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing is open. Does anyone like to offer any comment on this?
We have only engineers in the room.
Get some,
We don't really want to hear any from engineers anymore.
No offense, guys.
That's fine.
All right, let's have a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Moved by Josh, seconded by John.
Yep.
Shu,
Yep.
all those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Anybody want to take a whack at this? I haven't heard any extra questions, so. And just to confirm, the copy of the report that I've got has the language that we support the waiver in red. Is that on everyone's copy?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not hearing discussions. Who wants to take a swing at this one? John Mangan. The Mr. Villamere approach
Yep.
for
Oh,
old people that live in Essex.
Oh, yeah.
He's not picking that one up.
you can always say as warned and with, as written.
Yep.
John, you might
Yep,
be on mute.
I was muted, sorry. I move that we approve the proposal to construct the 2 warehouse buildings on 22 Corporate Drive in RPD 1I District Zone, tax map 72, parcel 322, as discussed and as written.
I'll
Second.
Who was that? Who did the second?
I wrote shoe.
Okay. And just to confirm that includes the changes to the conditions that Darren mentioned that we wrote in during the discussion.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That was good. Next.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
What did you, it's too late to discuss anything. What did you capture in condition 9? The CO instead of a zoning permit?
Correct.
Yes.
CO instead of
Okay,
zoning.
just want to make sure.
Yeah, because that was, Darren, that was helpful that you were writing it in as we were going so we could see it.
Yeah.
Let's see, we gotta get to the minutes of whatever day we did last. 8/12. Can I get a motion for the minutes of 8/12?
Move we approve the minutes from 8/12/21.
Thanks, Brian.
I'll second.
Second.
Seconded, moved by John, seconded by Shu. Anyone want to offer any adjustments to the minutes as presented? Hearing none. All those in favor of the minutes? Signify by
Aye.
saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. And other business.
I have a few things. I have an Airbnb application coming before the zoning board in September, and you guys have asked me rather than get your comments to just bring it to your attention. it's an existing accessory apartment that's already in place, and he wants to Airbnb it out for part of the year. So I will inform the zoning board and create a finding that you were informed of this application. Does that sound good?
Works for me.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
When you say an existing accessory apartment, does that mean it's this is where I'm not very bright. Does that mean it's an illegal rental already, or is it an
No.
ADU?
No, it's an accessory dwelling unit, an ADU, that they want to Airbnb out.
But isn't an ADU, again, I'm being ignorant here, isn't an ADU by statute for limited to family or?
No, that changed a number of years ago. It used to be, yeah, it's a free for all now. Anybody can rent them.
All right. Well, have at it. Good job. Thanks. Bye.
And also, I should tell, since I've got your attention on that, I should let you know that the state changed, and you will see that in a proposed zoning reg change, that it changed from a minimum of 600 square feet to 900 square feet, and there's not a limit on bedrooms.
Do you mean minimum or maximum?
Maximum. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's all right. Good. That's helpful. I'm still learning about this.
30% or
30 yes,
Yeah,
they can
whichever's
still go
greater.
larger. 30% stays the same, or 900 square feet, whichever is larger.
Wow. All right. Cool.
The next thing I have is I've been working. I issued a violation in 2014 to Armin Leclerc. I don't know if you remember that, up on Leclerc Woods and Lemoore Road. And long story short, Armin built his house not on the lot. So he put a portion of it on his remaining lands. And so thus I gave him a violation. And in speaking with the town attorney way back when, 2014, 2015, it'll catch up with them when they sell the house. Well, the house was foreclosed. The person who bought it paid cash. So it now is it's coming up for sale again. And it's caught. So I would like to request the planning commission allow me to approve this boundary adjustment administratively. It's strictly just to make the portion of house that is not conforming to a conforming lot. So I would ask for a motion in consideration that you allow me to approve that administratively.
Oh, all right. I just got a whole crap load of heartburn. I remember way too many issues with that area to, like, how much adjustment are we talking about here?
Not a lot. It's just the portion of the house to make the house become a conforming lot.
For the house plus.
So it's not the whole house, it's a portion of the house. And I don't know how much of it. I'd say like a corner fourth of it.
Right.
Plus the setback, right. So, I mean, it needs to be done to become a conforming lot. So even if it was the whole house, I'd say, okay, it's a boundary adjustment for the whole house, but it's not. It's a corner of the house that, as you come up Lemoore Road,
Hundreds of square feet. Forget that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dave?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this one. I struggle with this one based on the history.
yeah, there's a big history there. They've been holding, I will tell you that the landowner and Patrick have been holding each other hostage for a little bit, because Patrick is looking to get an easement off Lemoore Road because his dad forgot to give himself an easement for that. And then it went to foreclosure. So that's another freak show that's not going to be part of this boundary adjustment. However, there are easements on this 2014 plat that says possible easement, and the current landowner and everybody, the attorneys and have agreed that the condition of this boundary adjustment will be that, that the easements are not recognized and no deeds will be recorded for the proposed future easement. So they've been holding each other hostage there. Unfortunately, I think my understanding is there is strife within the household of 15 Lemoore, which is why it's probably being sold. It might be that one of them buys it, but it needs to be sold, and that's holding up other issues outside our arena.
You are just making the case for me. Thank you, Sharon, that this is way more complicated than simply thing on paper.
The last thing would be to get the easement. The landowner wants more of front yard setback, so that has absolutely nothing to do with this boundary adjustment. This boundary adjustment is clearly to correct the 2014 violation and make the house conforming. So the other little caveat is the cell tower is back on the table, and they are going to lease 10,000 square feet, and they want the violation cleared up
Not of this property, but of the large.
of the remaining lands. So it is,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and
All right.
oh,
I'm not good. So if you want my 2 cents, it's way more complicated. The more you talk, the more complicated this sounds, and the more this is an ask for forgiveness fix. And I don't care that the current buyer bought it cash. The title should have figured it out. This is a mess, and it's always been a mess. And that whole property's been a mess.
the whole property's been a mess, and I agree. And again, the only approval that they would get, if granted by the planning commission to do administratively, is strictly to make the lot 15 Lemoore Road conforming. So they're not giving a piece of land to each other. They're not doing an even swap. They're just giving land to correct that piece of house that's on the remaining lands,
The minimum amount.
the minimum amount, to make it a conforming lot. So
Does it change the lot size?
it'll change the lot size a little bit. The remaining lands of Leclerc are huge.
Yeah.
So it's not going to change the lot size by a lot. But that is the only, so it is a mess. You're right. It's a hot mess up there. But the fix of the lot is the only element that is being requested for this boundary adjustment.
How vengeful are you feeling, Dave?
Say again.
How vengeful are you feeling?
It's not that I'm feeling vengeful. Unfortunately, being on this commission as many years, I know the history of this. I know what happened. There's no accountability for, like, they built where they wanted to build. They didn't care, and it's like it got foreclosed on, and now we're being asked to just like make this go away. And there's still future development on those parcels and future gain to be had, and there's been no consequences. And it's like now we're going to administratively just draw some lines to make sure that part of this house is not violating setback and encroachment rules. And I don't know. I just way too much, I guess, time on this commission and too many headaches with slopes and all the other crap we dealt with on these parcels. That's been I mean, Dustin, we've dealt with so much stuff on those parcels.
Don't forget the horseback trail.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yep. Gotta ride horses through there.
I believe that legally they would have to fix this violation before they can do anything else on the property.
The house can't be sold until they fix
Well, it can be
Not only,
the property. There's an encroachment and a title issue, and that's going to hold up. Someone who buys cash can basically say, I don't care, there's a title issue, I'll take it as is. But a bank will not give title insurance on something like this, and that's why it's an issue.
That's why it's an issue now. So again, Chris Cron's bought this, and his wife, Chris, into whatever year. and pay
Yeah.
cash, which is why
Yeah, they
it's
pay
not
cash,
catching up.
and they may have been
No
aware of
other
it, but
development could happen until this is
Not on
fixed.
Not on that lot.
Not on that lot, right?
And there is no development to be had on that lot. It's
Oh, okay.
so,
There's
you
the
know,
carrot.
I do foresee that you will see a future application coming in because they are trying to negotiate to get the easement and to get more front lawn, which will require little clerk woods to be shifted. But that is a separate application clearly at your table, shifting.
So Sharon, let me ask, what is what is what is the other option? I mean, if you were asking us to just to
The other option is, so David Peatman did this survey in 2014. Joe Flynn has been working with Patrick. As you may know, most engineering firms are booking way out. Everyone's crazy busy, so they would just survey. They can't reach Peatman. They've both tried unsuccessfully. So the next step would be, okay, sorry. So the cell tower probably will not sign the lease. The
well, no, hang on. What's the next step for us? If we don't bless, if we don't do this,
If you don't
what would be?
do it administratively, so Joe Flynn, on a postponement of 3 or 4 months for a survey to be done, and I'm guessing when I last spoke to Joe about a month ago, and I spoke to Patrick this week. He said that they told him 3 to 4 months still before they could get an application. So it would just be a delay for them and an application for you as a boundary adjustment.
But just to clarify, they need to change the survey, or are they just asking to? Do we just need to determine if that goes administratively or back to the planning commission?
So I am asking to just allow me to approve this administratively to keep things flowing with the cell tower lease that they're trying to get taken care of. And they're the ability, not having the ability to reach Peatman. And again, Joe Flynn has tried, Patrick Leclerc has tried. He's just not returning calls. So the next step would be an application to the planning commission, and Joe Flynn would have to go out and resurvey the property, and that's it, and come before the planning commission.
So, and Sharon, in your opinion, is this? I mean, I know sounds messy, and I respect Dave's comments. In your opinion, is it that clean as this simple adjustment?
In my opinion, if there is a clearly written condition that states this boundary adjustment is just for the portion of house and setback, and does not recognize, and no deeds can be recorded for the references on the plat for the possible easements that are listed on the plat, and that's why they were trying to get a hold of Peatman to get those references off, then I think that captures it. I mean, you have to be a pretty lousy attorney if you're not checking your planning commission approvals, and all parties are aware of it. Patrick wants to come back in with his PUD, although he's been saying that every year for however many years, but so yeah, I agree it's messy. It's not great to file a plat that has documentation on it that's on it, but you can file a plat and never record a deed, and it doesn't validate. An attorney needs those deeds to see what was approved and how. So the landowner, who again, they're trying to hold each other hostage, the landowner agreed to going forward with this plat that shows this possible future easement on his lot with that condition. So it's really just a matter of time. and delay for getting a new, a new survey done by Joe Flynn from O'Leary Burke's office. So it's up to you guys.
Okay, round the table. Shoot.
All very interesting. I feel a little bit like Dave does. A free pass feels really. There's something wrong with that. I'm also nervous about two other things, and that would be one, that we don't have real documentation recorded with the town. Like, I'd rather wait the 4 months and have it be done.
So I
With a
believe
survey.
I believe I misspoke a little bit. The next step would be coming before you with the Peatman plat.
Okay.
And that's where the 3-month delay is, because
Yep.
unless I throw it on consent, then we're talking a month and a half probably.
Okay.
So you would be doing the same thing. You're going to see the same plat. You're going to see this. And if you guys reject it at your hearing, then they're going to have to go do the resurvey
And come in with an application.
and come in with it. Well, this will be an application no matter what, and come in with another application. With,
Survey.
So the other concern I have I don't, this could be another can of worms. It's not going to affect anything that's sitting on that large parcel, right?
No.
It development wise.
it's going to take a little bit of acreage
just
away.
to take some space, but it's not going to. Okay.
Nothing is proposed for Patrick's lot at all.
I'm with Dave. I'm irritated. I'd like to hear whatever everybody else has to say.
Josh.
I'm kind of with Dave that the more words that I heard, the more confusing it sounded. And we've spent 10 to 15 minutes talking about how simple this is. And I understand where everyone's, Sharon, I understand where you're going with it, but I'm of the Dave and Shu mind that, like, make them come in, make them fix this the right way.
Okay, and to be
Don?
it-
No, hang on a second.
okay, sorry.
Don, hang on.
Ditto. Yeah, it's not sitting well. And and initially, my initial thought was, yeah, let's just clean it up and get it done. But I didn't know the history of this. But as I'm hearing it, I'm worried about setting a precedent and doing this kind of thing. And yeah, it needs more scrutiny. It's unfortunate for the people that bought it, but that's the risk you take with buying a foreclosure too.
No, in this foreclosure and that's fine. I respect your opinions. That's fine. The foreclosure happened years ago, and they bought it years ago. So
Okay, good.
we're just trying to cure a 2014 violation, and only is coming to the table because they need to make some other private arrangements with themselves. So, I will be bringing forth the exact same Mylar, the 2014 Mylar, to you with the draft approval letter, and we will go that route.
Okay. Good discussion. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome. And then I have another couple of other things. The November 11th meeting is Veterans Day, a holiday. Do you guys want to meet on that day? Do you want to meet on the Wednesday before? Do you want what?
We're off on Veterans Day.
Right.
So how do they meet when we're off?
So the month of November, we only have one meeting in November and one meeting in December for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It happens that November 11th is Veterans Day as well, which means you would either have no meeting for the month of November if you'd like to change the date. I would, if you're
I'd like not to skip a month completely.
right. It would be,
Right.
it's hard. It backs everything up to skip a month. So that's why.
Can we do it can we do it either the preceding Thursday? Is there anybody that uses?
Zoning board.
Zoning
I
board,
can't do
and they have a meeting.
I couldn't do the proceeding, but I could do the 18th,
What's the 18th?
The
Thursday.
Okay.
the following, and that's not Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is
It's
after that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the week before. Yep.
So the 18th is
I can do that.
At this point, that would work.
the 18th. That work for everybody else?
At this point, sure.
Perfect. So we'll send out an email. I'll have Dina pass out an email to inform you that it's the 18th. And as long as we have a quorum, I guess that's all that's, that matters. Hopefully we'll have you all, but. And the last thing is just to note for the record that the town of Williston, you received something in your packet for their updated bylaws. That's all I have.
I can
And I-
segue. So looking at the Williston bylaw updates, we just wanted to point out they are making some significant changes to their parking standards, and we'll be taking a look at that when we look at our parking standards as we look at regulation updates, because there's some good stuff in there. We'd also like to provide the commission some information on bike parking and EV chargers, which came up at a meeting a few months ago now, I guess. So we just want to let you know that's going to be coming your way. Either we'll send it to you tomorrow morning or soon, or we'll put it in the packet for your next meeting, and that'll be an opportunity to discuss planning issues related to those.
The other zoning updates that we have are that the low-hanging fruit so-called low-hanging fruit zoning items that we discussed within the past few months. We're going to get you a and those are all items that are corrections or statute updates. We'll get you a marked up draft for the 9/23 meeting, and we can choose a public hearing date to get those done. Other than that, we're looking at the abandoned building ordinance that the village has, and planning on reviewing and adapting the village ordinance to reflect the town's needs. And you'll be seeing that in the next couple of months. And we're working on a potential design charrette potentially for January, to get public input and thoughts on the intersection of the of 128 and 15 roughly, in that historic portion of the town. And we thought that could be an interesting exercise for both the planning commission to be involved in and get the public involved actively in a process. And so I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. Hard to talk with the mask on. I kept
You can take-
suctioning it in.
You can take it off when you're talking.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I can breathe. Okay, so those are the items that we have for you that we'll be bringing forward in the next few months. Things to look forward to
Excellent.
with regard to zoning.
I'm
Okay.
excited for zoning updates. It looks
I
like.
know. Somebody's got design charrette aspirations.
Tourette's, maybe.
Design Tourette's.
Oh,
Oh. We've got two cuties on the screen now.
Mine's got teeth.
Yep.
All right. Are we good for tonight, folks? I'm getting mauled. I think it's close to having to run outside here in a minute.
Wow, you got to pee?
Yes.
Somebody,
8:03.
all right.
All right.
Good job,
We gotta-
team. I
we
make a
gotta-
motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.